Hey everyone, good morning, good evening. Welcome to this session on Catalyst Center AIOps. So in this session, we'll be focusing on topics about wireless client and RF troubleshooting. So what I'll be doing is I'll be taking you through some of the key features which we have in Catalyst Center today and how to use those features with the help of certain use cases. So a quick intro about myself, I'm Vasan Nagarajan. I'm a technical marketing engineer for the Catalyst Center business unit and my focus area is around assurance. So with that, let's jump on to the agenda of the meeting. So firstly, we'll be talking about the AIOps workflows. So I'll be taking you through what are some of the key features in a workflow way to understand how to use these features in different scenarios. Then we'll be jumping on to the use cases to discuss on how to troubleshoot wireless onboarding issues, what were the challenges traditionally, and how are we simplifying that with Catalyst Center. And how do we optimize the RF using advanced RRM method, which is AI enhanced RRM? And then how do we figure out proactively what are some of the APs which are giving us poor client experience using performance advisories? And finally, we'll end it with site analytics, which is to understand in your network what are some of the worst performing sites in your network with respect to wireless. So let's take a quick look into the workflow. So AIOps is that persona in Catalyst Center, which focuses on providing network visibility, observability, and also assisting with network troubleshooting. And we do this both in a proactive and a reactive way. So a common misunderstanding when it comes to troubleshooting is that troubleshooting starts at day N. But with Catalyst Center, we start doing it from day zero itself. So we started with planning and expanding, where we have 3D wireless planner, which helps us to plan or how to place the APs, how would the coverage of an AP look like once we place an AP. Then we have the AI RRM simulator, which helps us understand that before we make any changes in the RRM level, right? So how do we test it out? How would it look like once I push the changes? And once we are satisfied with the changes, that's when we can, go ahead and really push the change. So it's the simulator helps us understand what would the change look like. Then moving on to the trends and insights, which gives us insights into some of the worst performing access points in the network. Proactively, if I have 500 or thousands of APs, how do I understand which of the access points are doing good or which of the access points are doing bad, right? So trends and insights helps us gives us that level of insights. And then the Wi-Fi 6 dashboard, it helps us understand how our infrastructure is looking like. So from which of the clients are capable of Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 6E, which of the access point infrastructure is capable of Wi-Fi 6 and 6E. Right? So that level of information is available as a part of Wi-Fi 6 dashboard. Then coming to the visibility, we provide visibility to both, the poor performing areas as well as the good performing areas. So idea of visibility is to give an end-to-end visibility, but obviously the focus area should be more on the poor performing areas and the poor performing KPIs. So starting with site analytics, we give you an insight into what are some of the sites which are doing good or bad with respect to certain KPIs. The focus is again on the worst performing sites. Then the baselines dashboard is basically to set a dynamic baseline for different KPIs in your network. Now, today in a dynamic environment, if we have a static KPI to measure the performance of wireless, then it's not something which would be very feasible. So baselines dashboard helps you understand, give a dynamic kind of a threshold for different KPIs, for different buildings, for different periods in time to understand what should be the normal for your network. Then coming to PoE analytics, which helps us understand what is the PoE infrastructure looking like, right? What is the power consumption in your network? How much power are you spending to power on the APs? How much power are you saving with power savings on the AP? And finally, the application related details as to understand if in my network, how is the application doing? How is the specific application doing? Is there any kind of packet drops, latency, or any kind of jitter? So that level of information will be available with ThousandEyes integration. Then coming to diagnosis, so we proactively collect data from your network based on using streaming telemetry for wireless, and it's a very efficient way to collect the data, and we use the data to fill in or proactively update all the tools inside Catalyst Center. You also have an option of going back in time till 30 days to view all of these data also. So starting with clients 360, we also have AP 360 where we give you a complete 360 view of what the client details is, what the AP details is, the network services to understand how your AAA, DHCP, DNS is looking like. Wi-Fi analytics is a very interesting feature where we give you the client perspective of wireless, right? Today, when you troubleshoot Wi-Fi, you mostly deal with infrastructure, collect debugs logs on the WLC AP. So how do you understand the client perspective, right? That's what Wi-Fi analytics gives you. And finally, MS Teams and WebEx Teams related application data, like similar to your Thousand Eyes integration. How do you understand if an issue, if there's a maybe a call drop, is it happening in your network or is it something which is happening outside your network, maybe on the application level or maybe on the WAN level? So diagnosis gives you that level of data. Now coming to triage. So in diagnosis, as I said, we already collect certain level of information to simplify troubleshooting, but in case you need to collect further information, right? So how do we simplify that for customers? Today, if you have a WLC AP, you would need to reproduce the problem, collect debugs on the controller, know the commands, correlate it with the issue, compare it with the AP debugs, right? With triaging, we simplify collecting that part of log collection. So first is the automated ICAP, which simplifies the way you collect a capture. You could take a capture at the click of a single button. And global issue and event viewer, where we show you what are some of the top issues in your network, what are some of the top events in your network. Plus we give you details on the issues also, like how do you further troubleshoot. I'll be taking you through more details in the demo, but it to give a gist of it, it gives you the complete description of the issue and event viewer. Then the machine reasoning engine part, where we enable you to, or we simplify the log collection, right? So where let's say you need to collect a log on the for a specific wireless client, you simply put the MAC. We are going to take the logs on the WLC and AP level. And finally, the ITSM integration part, where we have an integration with ServiceNow. So in case any issue is raised in Catalyst Center, a ticket will be automatically raised on the ServiceNow dashboard as well. Finally, the remediation, right? So how do I remediate the problem? So we have a lot of assurance actions to help you remediate the problem. And AI enhanced RRM is something which provides you remediation as well as visualization, right? So how it proactively remediates some of the RF level issues in your network. And then finally, the auto resolution of issues. So whatever issues we generate on Catalyst Center, let's say, for example, there's an interference spike in your network. Maybe that was for some reason expected, but the interference has gone down over a period of time. So you don't really need to focus on such issues where it's already resolved. So we also auto resolve the issues in case the issue is resolved. Plus we update the ITSM also. That's what you see in Verify. So if an issue is resolved on the device, we send a notification to ServiceNow, and ServiceNow the ticket gets closed. So to move to the resolved state. And then in the verification, majorly we try to understand how to visualize. Let's say I make any change in the network today, right? Today, in the traditional way, there's no way you could understand if that has really improved or degraded your network. So with AI enhanced RRM and assurance baseline, you can understand that if any RF level change, if we make any RF level change, is that really improving my network over a period of time? Is that really bringing down the co-channel interference, or is that bringing down the noise in my network over a period of time? So that level of visualization is available with AI enhanced RRM. Similarly, with baseline also, you are able to identify if my specific building, which was giving me a problem, has that really improved? Has the association time or the authentication time for a specific building gone down over a period of time? So that level of verification is available so that you can visualize if any changes which you make as a part of remediation is really making any change in your network or not. So with that, let's move on to the first use case. So the first use case is about wireless onboarding issues. So today, as I said before, if you have any such issues related to onboarding, traditionally the only way is to reproduce the problem again, collect debugs on the controller, access points, sometimes take packet captures during the reproduction of the problem, right? So that can be hectic, and that requires you to reproduce a problem, requires different resources to be brought in, and that increases the mean time to resolution of any issue. With Catalyst Center, we have a lot of tools available, but I'll like to primarily focus on these four tools. First is, we already talked about the 360 features, the client 360 and AP 360. We collect data from your network proactively using streaming telemetry, and streaming telemetry it provides near to real-time data. The data directly comes from your device itself. So we don't use SNMP for data collection. We use streaming telemetry, so it's more real-time and more accurate. As soon as a change happens on the device itself is going to stream the data or push the data to Catalyst Center. And as I said, you have an option of going back in time till 30 days. So if any issue happens, and a lot of times when these kind of issues happens, users generally come and complain maybe after the issue has happened, right? Maybe after a couple of days or a couple of weeks. So you have the option of going back in time to take a look into what was the details of the issue, what caused the problem. Then client analytics portion. So we talked about certain issues which are specific to client, right? It may not be an infrastructure problem. You might be troubleshooting on the WLC AP. At the end, it might turn out to be a client problem. So how do we get that client level of logs? Today, it has to be a manual process. You have to log into the client, ask the client for the data. But with client analytics, we have a tie-up with Intel, iOS, and Samsung, where the client itself is going to give its driver level information, different reports like your disconnection reports, your any errors which is reported on the client. It is itself going to send the data to Catalyst Center so that you can view and analyze it. And finally, the intelligent capture, where we proactively, the intelligent capture is smart enough to take anomaly-based capture. So if there is some issue with your onboarding, some anomaly happens like a AAA timeout or a DHCP timeout happens, we will proactively collect an anomaly capture and have the packet available for your analysis. We also do a packet analyzer so that you don't have to open the packets on Wireshark and analyze. We will show you the analysis of the packets also. With that, let's take a quick look into the demo. So in this example, the wireless client failed to onboard. So how you troubleshoot this is simply search for the client MAC or the username that will lead you to the client 360 page. So once you go into the client 360 page, you're going to see a complete view of the client, right? So starting with the graph, where we show the telemetry status, the health of the client, what are the client events, what are the config events for the client, and you have the option of going back in time. So this is how you would go back in time. You select the time range. If the issue happens maybe sometime back in, maybe a couple of weeks before or 3 weeks before, you can go back in time and see what was the events which happened for the client during that time. So in this case, the issue happened between 1:52 and 3:49 p.m. So that's the range which I have selected. And as you can see, we are showing the health of the client is bad because there was a failure in authentication. So we right away know that the onboarding failed because the authentication failed. Apart from that, we also give you client details like what is the client OS, what is the MAC address, IP address of the client, SSID, the connected network device. Then the summary of the client. So this is something where we show you what is happening with the client during that period in time, the selected duration of time. So once we select that 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. time, all the information on this page is going to be updated with respect to the selected duration. So the summary here clearly tells us that the client failed authentication because the supplicant stopped responding, which is your wireless user itself stopped responding. Now we also see some other summary, like it's having a poor client is having a poor Wi-Fi experiences because of low data rate, high latency, and this right away gives you an insight that there is some RF level issue in the area of the client. Apart from that, we give you an onboarding stats for the client, we give you roaming stats for the client, and then connectivity details also for the client. So once you click on that summary, it's going to give you further details. So in this case, it clearly says that the supplicant stopped responding. Apart from that, we give you an event viewer view where for the selected KPI, for the selected duration and time, and for the selected error, which is AAA, we show you what is the events which the client is seeing. We also show you the impact analysis to understand what is the scale of impact, how many APs are affected, what are the top impacted SSIDs, floors, AAA servers, and other data about that. And finally, the correlation, the powerful part of correlation is you have the option of comparing this with different KPIs. Now we talked about interference, right? What if we want to compare and see, hey, maybe I can, if I want to select certain KPIs, for example, you see here, certain access point KPIs, let me check interference and see if during the same time, did the access point interference increase? Or maybe did the channel utilization increase at that point of time? Sometimes the AP memory utilization might lead to a client onboarding failure, right? So if you want to compare it with certain KPIs, you have the option of doing that as well. So this is a really powerful tool where it allows you to compare across different KPIs. So apart from that, just want to show you some of the other features which are there in Client 360. It may not be relevant to this problem, but we still have a lot of other features which you can leverage for different issues. So we show you what are the top issues, what is the topology diagram of the client like, then what is the event viewer specific to this client, right? So if you want to understand, let's say, if the client is moving across different SSIDs or moving across different access points, or how many times is the client going through the DHCP process, when did the DHCP process start and complete? So all that events, every event respective to the client is going to have be shown in the event viewer. You can see the detailed information once you click on that information on the right side. And we talked about triaging the problem, right? So how do we simplify data collection for our customers? So we have different tools for that. So client data collection is that tool where once you launch it, you simply put the client MAC and that's it. We are going to take care of collecting the WLC logs, AP logs, captures for the client. Path trace is simply tracing the path with respect to the client IP and any destination IP which you want, along with certain ports and parameters to test the path in which the data is flowing. Application experience gives you whatever application the client is using, right? So let's say if its client is browsing through YouTube or Facebook or certain applications, we show you what is the application performance for the client. Then the detailed information where we give you the device info, what is the device type, the operating system, the driver level information, what is the driver version on the client. Then the connectivity stats for the client, the TXRX, the data rate retries, and different RF level connectivity for the client, and RF stats like your RSSI and SNR for the client. Finally, what I wanted to show you is the analytics portion of it. So this is an Intel client, which is why you see Intel connectivity analytics. Now, if you remember, the initial onboarding failed because the AP complained that the client didn't respond, the supplicant didn't respond. So let's go and see on the connectivity analytics what the client thinks about this. What is the client saying for the connectivity failure, right? So if this was not there, you'd probably log into the device and you'd need to collect logs from the client and to see what was the error on the client. Here we are clearly going to show you what is happening from the client perspective. So as you can see here for the access point where the failure happened, the client is clearly saying that the authentication response is missing. So client is saying that it didn't get any response from the access point end. Right. So this is a typical case of interference where the client thinks that the access point is not responding and the AP thinks the client isn't responding. Right. So this is definitely some packet loss which is happening in the RF level. And we'll go into the AP360 to verify if there is any interference or not. But just before that, I quickly want to show you the ICAP, the intelligent capture portion, where we have an anomaly capture, where as I said before, if any issue happens with respect to onboarding, right? If any failure happens, we will collect the packet for you and we will also analyze the packet for you. So in this case, there's no anomaly as such, but if time permits, I'll show you in another setup where I have certain anomaly captures captured also. From here, you can run the packet capture on demand. So onboarding packet captures, you will only collect the onboarding packets. Full packet capture, if you want to take, it's going to collect your complete data packet and all the onboarding packets also. Finally, the OTS sniffer mode, where we have the capability of converting APs into sniffer mode APs. The map view is going to show you what are the nearby access points. So this really helps you understand which AP you would convert into sniffer mode, and then you would define the radio stats, and that's it. We will take care of converting the AP mode to sniffer, defining the channel, and start the captures for the client. So now we know that there is some level of interference in the network, right? So let's go into the AP360 and see what we are seeing there. You can go to directly AP360 from here, click on the access point, and it is going to take you to the AP360 page. Now, if you see, the look and feel of this page is similar to Client 360. So this is nothing which will look different. The look and feel is exactly the same. It's just that some of the data, some of the tools which you would see is more AP specific. And as you can see, for the selected duration and time, the health of the AP is really bad. And we are showing why the health is low. It's because the noise, interference, and channel utilization has poor scores, which means we are seeing some RF level issues for the AP. Apart from that, we'll also show you pointed towards an issue. And as you can see, the AP is clearly saying we have high interference. And we also give you relevant data, relevant information, which you would need to troubleshoot the problem, right? So what is the problem details? What are the nearby access points? What is the comparative metrics, right? What is the noise interference which the access point is seeing? What is the channel utilization? So all that level of information will be available. Then we also show you what are the clients which are impacted, right? So this is a user which we are troubleshooting right now. So it clearly says that it is impacted because of this interference. And then troubleshooting steps to understand, to further dig deeper and understand what should we do next, right? So what should be, what is causing, what is the metrics which is responsible for interference? So what is it, a rogue AP, or what is exactly causing this problem? And then finally, the suggested actions to tell us what should we do next, right? So now that we are seeing the problem, what can we do next? There are some actions which will have a run option beside it. So you can directly run those and we'll run the test on the WLC and give you the result itself here. And just a note, so this issue has certain details because of high interference, but that does not mean it's going to be same for same issue, different issues. Different issues, we have different set of data which would help troubleshoot those problems. Then similar to the client 360 page, we have a lot of tools available here as well. So we saw the client data collection tool there. Here we have AP data collection, which will enable us to collect the debugs on the AP at the click of this launch button. And similar to the part trace in Client 360, we also have it in AP 360 page. Then we also show you the topology on the access point 360 page. Apart from that, we also give you event viewer view for the access point, right? So you can see that there's a radio reset occurred. So tomorrow, if let's say a client comes and tells you, I saw a disconnect happen at this time, you can clearly come back and see that there is a radio reset occurred. And why did it happen? We'll show you the reason, detailed information on the right side. Then we have further detailed information similar to what you saw in Client 360, AP related information like what is the AP name, IP, what is the model, what is the CPU memory looking like, what is the RF stats for the AP for different radios, and then what is the Ethernet stats for the AP. And then finally, we also can take the intelligent capture from AP360 page also, and it is going to show you RF statistics from the AP perspective to understand how your RF network is doing. What is the channel utilization looking like? What is the channel utilization by radio? If you want to look at the packet level, is there any TX/RX frame error over the air? Right. So all that level of information will be available as a part of the RF statistics of the intelligent capture. Apart from that, you also have the option of running OTA capture. So previously we ran OTA captures from Client 360 page. You can run the OTA captures directly from the AP360 page also. And that is going to give you a similar view. The look is going to be exactly the same. We'll give you a map view. It will show you the location of all the access points. You select the access points, you define the radio parameters, and you can run the captures directly from there. So this was about the first use case. Now let's move on to the second use case. Now that we know that there is some interference in my network, how do I optimize my RF? Right? That's where our advanced RRM comes in. We call it AI enhanced RRM, and it's a machine learning feature. We use machine learning behind it at the backend, and we process your data for 14 days. We collect data, understand the trend of your network, try to discover what is the pattern of your RF, and based on that, we proactively optimize your network in a very in a very efficient way. So the settings are very simple. You just need to the terminology is going to be the same as what you saw in your regular RRM, which is your FRA, DCA, TPC, and your dynamic bandwidth selection. The only new thing which you see here is the busy hours, right? If you remember in DCA, the channel change used to happen based on the time you configured, 10 minutes or 1 hour or 2 hours. It didn't matter if it's a busy hour or not, right? Even if you have clients connected, if you have, it's a morning hour, even then DCA would make the change based on the hours which you configure. Here, Catalyst Center is smart enough to understand what is the busy hours, what is the sensitivity you define, and try to make the changes when there is least impact, when there are least clients or when there are no clients. That's when we would be making the changes to your network. Then advanced settings, which is again similar to you define the channel with available channels, data rates, etc. to very similar to your traditional RRM. So this is nothing like something new on the configuration part. Right. So let's take a quick look into the demonstration. Right. So all the assurance features are accessible from the assurance button itself. So all the features you would see here. So once we go into the AI enhanced RRM, we know that there is some interference which we are seeing, right, for one of the buildings where we saw the problem. We go into that building, we can click on the AI enabled sites, go to that building, and we'd show you what is the performance in that building looking like, right? So you can filter based on the time, the bands, and it shows you what the RF profile you have assigned there. But what I want to show here is we show you the RF performance summary, which doesn't look very good here. And it's based on different parameters like your interference, noise, how is your channel utilization looking like. So we consider all those KPIs to calculate the performance summary and the coverage summary. And we give you intelligent insights also. So how do you further modify the RF profile to improve your network in a better way, right? So here we clearly tell you that this is some insight. Once you click on that insight, we will show you what is the channel list currently you're using and why are we and what channel list you should be using and why are we making that suggestion. So it clearly tell you that if you do this, it will reduce your co-channel interference by as much as 33%, right? So and interference is a problem in this building. And not just that. So once you click on this, you don't have to directly go and apply this change. You can run a simulation. That simulation is going to show you how your network is going to change once you apply these changes. How is your RF performance going to look like? How is the co-channel interference going to look like, right? How is the utilization going to look like? So all that level of visualization, which previously was not available with the traditional methods, will be available here. And only once you're satisfied with this result, you can go ahead and apply those changes. And that's when the change will take effect. Apart from that, I also wanted to show you something about the visualization part. Right? Traditionally, if I make any change to an RRM, let's say I add certain channels, let's say I change the TPC, we don't really know if that is improving my performance or not. Right? With the visualization part of AI enhanced RRM, we give you a visual into how your RRM changes is going to look like. So this is the latest value, but we also show you a trend, right? So is the co-channel interference really going down once I apply the change? So you can compare the trend with the time when you applied the change and see if that really got down the co-channel interference or not. So all that level of visualization is available also as a part of AI enhanced RRM. And finally, log collection, right? So the triaging portion. Let's say for some reason you see some issues with AIRRM, you need to collect certain logs. You don't have to go into different places and run debugs and collect those logs. You simply have to download this service bundle, define the time when the problem happened, download it and give it to tag. So this will have all the relevant data which you need for troubleshooting any problem on AIRRM. So with that, let's move on to the third use case. Right. So we talked about AI enhanced RRM, but it was a client issue which led us to the building, right? So how do we proactively understand if there is some building which is seeing interference, right? And not rely on client issues after the issue happened to go and check those buildings. So AP performance advisories is again a machine learning feature where we analyze your network data, your access point data for a 1 month period. Then we try to figure out what is the baseline for your network. So what is the normal for your network? And if any AP breaches this normal, we try to figure out the root cause and show you to you here in AP performance advisories. Now you clearly see in my setup, I'm seeing high co-channel interference. So proactively, I'm going to show you what are some of the, and we also give you AP data also, right? So once you click on that tab, it's going to show you what is the distribution looking like. So the blue lines which you see here depicts the AP, the reference radios which machine learning calculated, and the red lines, the pink lines are the ones which are the radios which are giving bad client experience. Most importantly, as I said, we give you which access point is contributing to the problem. We also give you the location. So now that you have the location of the access point, you can repeat the similar step we did in AI enhanced RRM. Go back to the building where you're seeing this problem, see what are the insights, see how the performance is, and then take corrective actions. So that brings us to the final use case. So how do we identify which of my sites are my worst performing sites, and not just worst performing sites? Obviously the priority is on worst performing sites, but it will give you a complete picture, right? If even if a site is performing good, we will show you that, but your focus probably should be on the worst performing sites. Apart from that, you can also use this data for prioritization, right? Let's say you have maybe 15-20 buildings in your network. You're seeing alarms, issues, events coming from all the 20 buildings. How do you understand which building to focus on or which floor to focus on? So with site analytics, you can understand what are the worst performing buildings. Let's say if 2 buildings are the ones which are doing really bad, you may want to focus on the alarms events coming from those buildings. So as you can see here, we track the different experience metrics for wireless users. And based on this metrics, we tell you what is the worst performing site. Within that site, what is the building which is the worst performing building. Within that building, which floor is doing bad, and then finally to the device level, right? So again, let's take a quick look into the demonstration. So for all assurance features, as I said, you'd go through the assurance tab, and the assurance landing page itself is going to show you the site analytics KPI. You'd need to select the site properly. So whichever site you want to visualize, you select that site. Here I'm selecting global. Define the time interval where you want to see the performance. And as you can see, the site analytics shows you certain stats for different KPIs. Now you can see here that some of the, what this means is 79 for onboarding attempts, 79% of onboarding attempts were successful and the rest failed. Now this has a proactive nature to it because your users may not be reporting this problem, because your users, maybe they connect in the second or third attempt, they might not even be seeing this problem. But what you need to take away from this is understand the trend of your network. If let's say 1 week you're seeing the onboarding attempts is at 86% or 85%, next week it comes down to 79, then it goes down to 75, then it gives you an insight that there is some degradation happening in your network, right? So that's some area you would want to look at. And as I said, we also show you the good stats. So onboarding duration, 99% is successful. Roaming attempts is 100% successful. So we show you all kinds of stats, but your priority should be on the poor performing stats. So once, if you want to focus on the onboarding attempts, you click on that building that's on San Jose, it's going to take you to a further drill down view into which building is contributing to the problem, right? So red depicts a problem building, green is a building which is doing okay. So once you click on that building, it's going to take you to the floor level, right? Which floor in this building is contributing to the problem. So yeah, once you click on the building, it's going to show a floor view. And in my example, I just have one floor. That's why you're seeing one floor. But in your typical example, you'd see some red, some green floors there. right? And this is a 24-hour view. So it gives you a view visibility into the floor one is showing a complete stat for the 24 hours because that's what we have selected on top. Now, if you want to get a granular view, the bar chart below shows you during which time the issue happened also, right? So for example, this will give you an insight to understand that, hey, is the issue probably may not be happening all the time. It's generally during the busy hours or during the morning hours when a lot of clients are coming in. That's when I'm seeing the problem. So all that level of insight will be available here. And not just that, we also give you an insight or summary into what caused the problem, right? So why did the onboarding fail? As you can see here, the top reason is authentication. And the second reason is association. So authentication is the top reason why your clients are failing to connect to onboard. And once you click on that, we are going to give you a drill down. So once you click on authentication KPI, the bar chart gives you a drill down approach of when the problem happened with respect to the time. So as you can see here, it's not happening always. It's just happening during the morning hours. So probably something the replay server might be getting overwhelmed, might not be responding. That's what is leading to this issue. And we also give you an impact analysis to understand the scale of the impact. What are the floors, access points affected? What are the top failure reasons, SSIDs, and all that level of information to understand the scale of the impact. Then we also give you a bubble view to understand the fail onboarding attempts with respect to an AP. And finally, once you click on that bubble, it's going to give you a detail on the access point level also. So we started from the site level, coming down to the building, to the floor, to the access. We were able to come down to the access point level to understand which access point is seeing the problem, along with a map view of the floor. And also, we know that the main reason for this issue is authentication. So this is how typically, site analytics, and this is just for this single KPI, and you'd have different information show up for your different list of KPIs as well. So, and as I said before, you can also use this to prioritize. If let's say you're seeing multiple alarms coming, if which building or which floor you want to focus on, this will really help you understand which area you need to focus on. So finally, how do we start using these features, right? There is so much of data collection happening, so many features on Catalyst Center. Do I need to enable multiple things on the device level? Yes, no, it's just a two-step process, very simple process to start using these features. You add the WLC to the Catalyst Center inventory. AP is going to be automatically added as soon as you add the WLC, and you need to assign them to sites. Right? Wherever the AP is present, you define the network hierarchy, assign the WLC and AP to respective sites, and that's it. Catalyst Center is going to take care of installing the certificate on the wireless controller and enabling the streaming telemetry by using automated scripts, pushing the subscriptions which is required. And as soon as it does that, the device is going to start streaming telemetry data to Catalyst Center. So only prerequisite is, since we use netconf to send data, you need to enable netconf on your 9800 controllers. And we also discussed about certain features where we use machine learning, right? So for that, you need to have AI network analytics enabled. That's the only extra step you need to do if you want to use some of the machine learning features. So with that, I'll like to wrap up this session. I hope it was insightful to all of you. And with that, I'll hand it back to Abby.